Hey, welcome back. This episode is how to change your life in 30 days. This download came to me while I was journaling, and it makes so much sense because of the way that I view life. If you're new here, I look through the lens of gamification and I see patterns and I break them apart in order to make sense of what is happening. And astrology happens to be the tool that I use to help me make sense of why we're here and the game that we're playing. And so on my channel, I use astrology, but as a self-development tool to help you reconnect with your self-worth and to discover who you truly are. And so I had a massive download in my last video. If you watched, it was the Aries supermoon that brought in this download about emotions and the duality of our senses and how we maneuver in the game. And this download that I received, it was because the moon was in 29 degrees in Leo. I happen to be a Leo sun, and 29 degrees is the degree that has a lot of importance because it's right before you start all over again. And being that I'm a Leo sun and I'm here to be a guide, this download came in as a continuation of what I downloaded and shared with you in the last video. And I also shared with you what I experienced as one of my challenges in the game to overcome. And that's one of the things that it is my Chiron wounded healer that I healed, and it became my medicine. And that's what I'm here to teach you, or share with you, I should say, around self-worth. So this Leo sun energy in a Libra sun season, because I'm also a Libra moon. And the reason why I keep going back to like my natal placement, so it can help you better understand your placements and start thinking that way. So my Leo moon is in the house of, it's in the ninth house. So it's like my perspective, my philosophy. And it is like the relationship with it, and the love of thinking of things in a different way that reconnects you back to why we're here, who you are, because the ninth house is naturally ruled by Sagittarius, which is the truth seeker. And so this all comes down at an appropriate time for me according to the placements, the astrological placements of why I received the download to share with you. If you could hit the subscribe button, that helps me to get closer to monetizing this channel so I can show up here and create these videos. And make sure you hit that like, leave a comment. If you don't want to leave a comment, leave an emoji. It helps the algorithm to show that there's an interest in my content so that it will push it out and I will get more viewers. Hence, I'll have more subscribers. This is a form of income I am creating as we move into a new way of achieving resources in this new world of the digital world. Okay, so I just want to bring that to your attention. If you want to stay on track with the information that we're going through today in this 30-day process, hit the bell notification so that when I do release a new video on Saturday, you will get notified so you can check in and share your progress, or if you have any questions about your astrological chart, your placements, and how you are creating your avatar. So let's just get into this episode. What I was shown is that this illusion that we've been under, right? Because Neptune Pisces is illusions and dreams. And we happen to have Neptune in Aries right now, which is about new beginnings and self-identity and understanding the illusion that you have around self-identity And so what I am finding is the biggest illusion that we've been tricked with is the illusion of acceptance. Self-acceptance is what derails us all of the time. And why is that? Because you are the one who is attracting your reality to you by being the character, by being the main character. And if you are seeking validation and acceptance outside of you, then you are showing you are communicating, I should say, with the universe that you don't believe you have value. So you need to be accepted, have a sense of belonging in order to feel like you have value. And that's what keeps a lot of us from manifesting the reality that we truly desire. And I caught myself doing this because on the 14th and the 15th, um, that we just experienced, there is something with the Mayan calendar, the Gregorian calendar, that caused this time loop. And so this happens, I think it's like every 1400 years where the calendar meets up and all of the past, present, and future condenses into one timeline. So you get that hit. And I got very emotional on those days. And being that I am a Libra moon and it happened in Libra season, I felt like I was mourning my past and my present and my future. And I started looking at what was happening in my present timeline and how I've been working towards creating this reality that I want to live in, and how I wasn't receiving the recognition for it. And if you know anything about being a mental projector in human design, you have to be invited and people have to recognize you for your value. But also, if you are or if you are on a constant loop of needing it or searching for it, it can cause this mental bandwidth that causes you to feel um, frustrated with everything that you're doing. And that's what I was going through. And this frustration was causing me to feel like I just needed to scrap everything, that I was on the wrong path, that I'm not getting the results, and really feeling despondent in my life and just looking at, you know, what was the trajectories in my life that led me to this very moment. So you might have felt that. And I just want to know it's just this energy that you're feeling and it passes through. And so it passed through, and on the opposite side of it is when the download came in. And this download was showing me that what I was experiencing is exactly what I was sharing with you in the last video, of our emotional state that activates our mindset, of the negative and the positive emotions that we feel, and that we have duality. And so everything will pass if you just give it a moment and give yourself grace in that timeline. And so for me, it's always reconnecting back to nature, getting outside, putting my feet in the earth to help me ground, because I do have a lot of fixed energy in my chart, and I also have a lot of air in my chart, but I do have a balance of air, earth, water, fire. And so, but I always know that when I'm in the overthinking process, I'm just way too much in my head. I need to put my feet in the earth. So that was what was coming up for me. So this illusion of acceptance happens because I'm going to be looking down at my notes because I wrote a lot. When we seek validation, it's because we don't believe that we have value. But the system, the matrix, was rigged that way. And how it was rigged is that they created this illusion of what it means to be superior to others. And the superiority comes in by, you caught my last video where I was talking about how I went through life being rejected because of the color of my skin. which is totally opposite than what everybody else experiences because I'm a white woman, right? Um, if you didn't get the last video, it's I was believed to be a biracial child growing up. If you want to hear more about that, you can catch it on my previous video. But anyway, so I received the rejection because my skin wasn't brown enough, which off is opposite from how the system has been rigged. So the system is rigged that white is considered superior. And so they created these divisions, right? The patriarchal system created this hierarchy system that created division. And the division happens with your race, your ethnicity, your economic background, um, your religious beliefs. Um, and they created these systems, right? And the systems that you tried to follow, it's like you're trying to fit in to get acceptance so that you feel like you're a part of something bigger. But it's an illusion because you came here with a stamp on your blueprint, this astrological stamp that tells you who you are and how you were supposed to experience this reality. And that's why I talk about learning your avatar, because your avatar helps you make sense of who you are as the player in this game. And so I was shown how the system is rigged and how it's an illusion because we have this illusion thinking that confidence is like in a handshake and eye to eye contact. But confidence is really willing to do the hard stuff, even though it's not in line with what is acceptable in society. So, acceptance is a big thing that keeps us stuck in this reality. And so, you have to remember that you are the builder. Okay, you're the director, you're the producer, you do the stage production, you are the wardrobe designer, you are the stage designer, you create the mood and the vibe and the health and well-being of your movie because you are actually co-creating with the universe this reality with how you want to be the player. Now we're a free will. So in astrology, your natal chart shows you your characteristics and it shows you your struggles, and it's more about self-growth than it is about predictions. And that's why I don't believe in using astrology for horoscopes or predicting what's going to happen in the world. Although I know there's astrologers out there that do this, but that is not my expertise. I look at it because of the way my brain works and I see patterns. I look at astrology as a tool to use for self discovery. I had this dream that showed me the illusion the night before. And so that's why I had this dream about the illusion and what was I speaking into existence. What it showed me was that it is time for us to really create our reality. Get serious about creating your reality. Now, in typical manifestation, it says that you need to be clear on what you want and you have to, write out all the details, create a vision board, and speak it into existence through visualization and acting as the character, which is aligned with what I'm going to share with you, but it's my perspective using astrology. So the reason why most people don't manifest the reality that they want because they don't know their character, right? So anytime you feel like an imposter, it's hard to step into that role of the character so that you can manifest the reality that you truly desire. So if you have a poverty mindset because of the way the system has been rigged, it's going to be very hard for you to step into the role of a millionaire. And because we operate from this illusion of money, you get trapped by creators that talk about manifesting abundance in the material world and more money. But the reality is, those are all energetics, and it's your energy and your belief in yourself and the character that you're playing that you attract the reality. Because remember, you're the sun, your sun sign. So think of how the solar system works. The sun is magnetic. It shines these rays, and the planets revolve around the sun. So if you don't know who you are, your I am as the sun, it's very hard for you to attract the planets to you to give you what you're looking for and to better understand who you are. So that's why I'm creating this and sharing this information with you. So what came through to me is when we talk about the constructs and how they're placed. Now remember, Capricorn and Pisces are on opposite side of Aquarius, and we are in the Aquarian age. So Capricorn is about the systems that were created, and Pisces is about the illusion of the system that's created, and we're smack in the middle, because when it comes to ages, you're going backwards. So it was the Piscean age of illusion. That's why we were easily manipulated with these constructs that were put in place. But because we are moving into a different age, Pluto is destroying those constructs that were set up in the system, which are the academics, medical, the healthcare, government, banking, our food, and consumerism. And even the way that we earn our money is different, because we are going to be creating multiple streams of income versus having one paycheck working for one employer. Now, your avatar could be different. Your avatar could be the worker who thrives better in a 9 to 5. But if you happen to be like me, who is a visionary archetype, I need the freedom, the creative freedom to innovate and to trust my insight. One thing I want you to know is that we all have our own reality in this larger picture. And when they talk about the new world and the divide, the split in the world, the, the, the divide is the digital world, the online world versus the real world. That's where the division is happening. And you can easily get pulled into the digital world. So if you've ever watched the movie Ready Player One, you will know what I'm talking about. So it was all of these characters looking for the Easter eggs so they could win all of the money and the rights to this person who created the game. They could win the rights to it. But when they showed the real world, it was crumbling, and everybody had their VR sets in and they were living their life digitally. And that's what's happening right now. If you find yourself doom scrolling all of the time and getting sucked into the vortex of being online and social media, and you aren't living your real life because you're constantly on your phones looking at what everything is happening in the virtual world, that's the split. So we really have to learn how to use technology and not let technology use us. That is the whole premise of self-love and learning about your avatar and finding your self-worth and really knowing who you are as a player, because we can't escape the matrix. The systems are set up, but they're changing right now. But there are those that are playing they're playing chess. Okay, so they're taking old constructs and making them seem like they're different in the digital world. But if you're not using your discernment and your critical thinking, you're going to get stuck back in the same loop. So that is why it's important for me to share this information with you. So even when you think about Hollywood, now we have this digital world. And so we're looking at the way people are living their lives through the lens of social media. But before it was Hollywood, that was the distracting factor, because we would look at the way that celebrities lived and thought that that was the way that we wanted to live our lives, like the rich and the famous in this glamorous life, but it was all an illusion. So what's happening right now is the illusion is cracking open, right? The veil is being lifted, and we're seeing that it was an illusion, and that the characters that we thought we resonated with were never true real people. They weren't real characters. They were always puppets, that even in their real world, they had to abide by these rules in order to stay in the game of being famous and celebrity. So their life has never really been their own life. And the same thing can happen to you in the digital world as someone who's getting hooked into the social construct of digital media. And this is what we have to be aware of. Now, the constructs were set up so that it kept us in this loop to thrive for more in the way that the system was set up. So like if you were thinking of someone being a programmer, we don't know who they are, the elite or the overseer of earth. When they look at it, it's like, okay, this is going to be the game that we're going to keep people in a loop, is by going after acceptance. If you want the world to accept you, and you are searching for superiority. And I have watched this happen growing up. So, like I said, I grew up thinking that I was biracial. So my friends were mainly black friends. I had black friends and Mexican friends. And even in the black community, there was this um, inferiority against superiority against your skin color. So, like light skinned girls were more favored than dark skinned girls. Even in the Hispanic culture, if you were light skinned, you were more superior than the dark skin. And this is all part of the constructs of setting it up that way, because in your mind, you're programmed to believe that being lighter, closest to whiteness, makes you superior. I know this might sound crazy to you, but like I said, the way that I view patterns and systems is different. So if you don't agree with me, I'd love to hear your perspective. And if this is making sense, let me know in the comments if you can relate to this. So when you are fighting to be superior, and then you're stuck in a loop of survival, you become a consumer. This is how you get into the hamster wheel, because you will do, be, and act any way in order to be viewed as somebody who is accepted. So it starts with education, right? So we're going to get your kids into school so we can start programming them this way. So whoever is the smartest, whoever goes to college, whoever excels academically, they get the golden star. That is beginning of the brainwashing. Now, parents believe, because they didn't have the opportunity from, a different cycle, they really push for that because they saw the illusion that that was the way out. So they push for this, but because they're in the loop of being the consumer and trying to look like they can fit in and be superior with like what they drive, the house that they live in, the clothes that they wear, it's usually a two parent, working, because it's expensive to keep up with the Joneses. So, because your parents and people still today think that keeping up with the Joneses is going to create this superior lifestyle and fulfillment through material things, they are getting that instant hit of dopamine through the things that they purchase. But then once the dopamine wears off, they've got to get the next best thing that keeps us on this loop. And even when I think of like education, so that's how they get you in, is, you know, through the world of consumerism and the accolades that you have so that you can make more money and buy more stuff and get in debt. And then it happens with food because everything is for profit. The government's for profit. Our food is for profit. The medical is for profit. And because we live in a for profit world, we have to work really hard to make money in order to keep up with the system so that we can feel accepted. And there's so much judgment, right? So could judge somebody by where they live, the clothes that they wear. Even kids are learning this at a young age, where they make fun of kids if they don't dress like the in crowd, right? The popular kids. They don't have their Jordans. This is all manipulation to keep you stuck in the system. And this is just, it's been happening. And so now, even more so, that we have social media and there's a constant dopamine hit of how you can look, where you can go, how you can dress. And I think it's funny because Round Top just happened in Texas. If you don't know about it, it's like this big show with like 22 miles of shopping. And I've never been, but apparently there's this clique of women that go in because everything is super expensive, and they dress this character. They're dressed as this character with like layers and layers of just gaudiness of showing their wealth, and then like um, just lots of layers of jewelry and turquoise. But then if you're just, you're being realistic and you're saying it's hotter than hell out here, and I just want to wear a t-shirt and shorts, these women come in and they're like putting their nose up to the person that's not dressing like. And so again, even when it comes to fashion, it is this superior thing. And so that's why women get in debt, right? It's a sense of belonging. If you can dress nice, um, if you drive the car, if you're with the popular in crowd, um, it creates this illusion that you're really living life. And it's a false illusion. So that's what's kept us locked in the system. So the premise of changing your life in 30 days is to get to know yourself so that you can actually be the player and not the one that's trying to fit in for acceptance, because you lost the plot if that's what you're trying to do. That's keeping you in the loop. The only way you're going to break away from the matrix, like we can't get out of the matrix. There's the systems there. We need to have money in order to buy the things, to feed ourselves, to keep a roof over our head, to put gas in our car, all of the things. Because also we do have entertainment. That is another reason, because we constantly are looking for a dopamine hit. And these things are being created to keep us in the loop of searching for the next dopamine hit, even when it comes to alcohol and recreational drug use and um, pornography and shopping, like all of these. This is very Piscean, because Piscean is about addictions. It's illusions. It keeps you stuck in a loop. And you're just looking to numb yourself because you want that next dopamine hit. You want to be seen. You want to be recognized. You want, like, you look like you have it going on. But at some point, when you start using drugs to numb yourself, you get lost in the plot. So this is about taking back your sovereignty. And the only way you can take back your sovereignty is through knowing who you are. And so your natal chart explains that. So what we're going to do in this part of the video is to take your sun, moon, and rising and your Venus placement and turn it into a description of your avatar. And I'm going to tell you mine, okay? I'm going to be very transparent here. I'm going to read to you. And this is the exercise I want you to do in order, because we're doing this in 30 days. So you're building your character right now. So you're taking your sun, moon, rising, and Venus placement. I'm a Leo sun, an Aquarius rising, a Libra moon, and a Cancer Venus. So Leo is creative, courageous, warrior, leader, goddess. Now, the opposite, like I said, there's duality. So the duality part of my sun sign is the darker side, but we're all both, so we can't reject them. Okay, so my ego needs to be recognized. If you heard me talking about this earlier, how I was really getting frustrated with this whole content creation and making it about me being recognized, and now I'm just like, you know what, the right people will show up, and whoever is interested in watching what I'm sharing and want to see the world through the lens of how I pick up patterns are going to stay, and the ones that don't. Okay, and that's why I ask you to hit subscribe, like, and leave a comment, so the algorithm, so it doesn't get thrown back and nobody sees what I'm creating. Okay, so it's the ego needs recognition, overly generous, and prideful. And then I have an Aquarius rising. So it's innovator, visionary, individual, humanitarian, and then the negative would be aloof, overthink, too inventive, a rebel, try too hard to be different. Libra, I'm a Libra moon. So it's balance, justice, equality, beautiful minded, entitlement, seeking love, overly pamper, self indulgent. Those are the contrasts. Cancer is my Venus. So it's nurturing, mothering, wise, intuitive. That's how I serve also, because it's in my sixth house. But this is my Venus. This is how I love. But then Cancer can also be insecure, hold grudges, hides emotions, or can be too enmeshed in other people. So when you know the duality, you know when you're in alignment and when you're out of alignment. So now that you have this information, you're going to take a bird's eye view and use this information to best describe your character in your movie. So here is a description of me. Goddess warrior who leads with wisdom and kindness. She is confident with her persona and level of beauty. She is inherited. Level of beauty inherited. Remember, this is not going to beauty standards. It's just what I was born with. She is fair and secure with her ability in creating her version of success. She has healthy boundaries and trusts her higher self for guidance. The intuitive voice, not the critical voice of unworthiness. Now, as I'm writing this, I am looking at my chart in each house that it represents. So I'm looking at who I am as my rising sign, and then I'm going into the second house and I'm describing myself on how I maneuver through the second house of the material world. So I want you to pick up on this as I go through the description. Okay, so that I want you to keep that in mind, because everything is cyclical. We evolve in cycles. It's a system. Okay, so going back to, she has a health ability in creating her version of success. She has healthy boundaries and trusts her higher self for guidance, the intuitive voice, not the critical voice of unworthiness. She has order in her mind and executes in an organized way. She doesn't need to be validated for her perspective, but is willing to receive feedback. She knows her strengths and weaknesses. She works well alone, but feels more inspired with like-minded peers. She is not seen as a therapist, but as someone who is wise. People seek her guidance, not her intelligence, but her view on the patterns and sequences of living a successful life. She helps people see themselves for the very first time. I'm talking about my avatar, my character that is written in my charts. She is fun, stylish, adventurous, laid back, funny, approachable, authentic, modest, natural, and does not need to impress anyone. She moves according to her feelings of inspiration. She knows her value and does not allow people to manipulate her. She is not a people pleaser, which means she holds no resentment towards another because she knows that the resentment is from her own undoing. She is a risk taker and decides for herself what she wants and takes full responsibility to achieve her vision. She is flexible and responds to events in a grounded way, but with intention and discernment. She does things for enjoyment, not to prove herself. She is unconventional. She is smart with money because she doesn't fall into the consumerism trap. Her wardrobe is beautiful, authentic, casual, comfort that fits her lifestyle. She edits and replenish quality basics with her high end to maximize her capsule wardrobe. I'm talking about the way that my Venus is and where the Venus is in my chart. She buys quality over quantity. That is her motto. She doesn't allow others to ruffle her feathers, and she stands on principle, even when it's difficult or unpopular. Integrity and commitment to her personal code of conduct. She is not swayed easily. She is in touch with reality, but not consumed by it. Okay, so that is what I wrote about me as the character. And how I did it was I went through my chart and I looked at the duality of each zodiac sign, where I have placements, the house in which I have it, and how it affects me. That's where you start connecting the pieces, because each house in your natal chart is an area in your life that has the characteristic of the zodiac and that is led by what the planet wants you to do in that area. All right, so we get sucked into this vortex, right? And we forget and we get stuck in the system, and we're wanting to be this person that is unauthentic to who we are just because we're stuck in this illusion of what it means to be accepted. Remember, acceptance is the key. Even when it comes to beauty standards, like everything is connected, right? Because if you don't feel like you're comfortable with who you are and you're constantly trying to change or lose weight or morph into something, it's like it's never going to be enough. So even the people that have the most money, you can ask them where their happiness, joy level is. It's not very high because they're constantly looking for the next big thing to get that dopamine hit. And this is how we've been hijacked. And it all comes from this division of what it means to be superior and what it means to be inferior. And nobody wants to feel inferior. So all of these systems, even when it comes to eating poorly, right? Because as a parent, you're being told that you're doing the right thing if you put your kids in extracurricular activity, and then it's like they're excelling, and oh, look at what a great parent you are, and then you don't have time to, feed your kids, to cook a meal, so then you're in the fast food drive-through trying to pick up something, and that's how all of these businesses just keep evolving. I just want to bring that home to you. So the point is, when self-love became this huge, exploded, right, where it was like pouring into yourself. Self-love does not come from self-indulgence. Self-love comes from knowing your worth, who you are, because you're enough. Just when you came into this through the portal of your mother and you came into this world, you had a stamp on your blueprint that said you are valuable. But again, because of the construct, you lost the plot. So I'm going to go through the planets and describe the planets because I want you to get how your chart is speaking to you all the time. Now, this information, you can put it in Chat GPT. Like, I don't read charts anymore. And the reason I don't is because it is time consuming. And yes, there are things that I will pick up in your chart intuitively, but you can get these questions just by putting it in Chat GPT. Again, I'm not here because I'm trying to sell you something. I'm here to expand you and to empower you. And the only thing I'm asking in return is that you hit the subscribe button so I can monetize this channel and make a living on my time. Okay. So ChatGPT is free and you can put in your chart. You can copy and paste your chart and you can ask it to build your avatar for you. Okay. So again, it goes by self-love, but you need to know who you are in order to love yourself. So again, if you're chasing acceptance and you're looking externally, you're never going to measure up because there's always going to be something bigger and better, something more greater. And you're just chasing a constant, this invisible high that is never going to satiate you. Satiate you. I think that's how you say it. Okay, so your starting point is self-love. And in order to fall in love with yourself, you need to accept your avatar, not the version of the game built by the patriarchal hierarchy system that has you chasing a false illusion of superiority. Once you take a bird's eye view of the system, you take your power back by playing the game uniquely. Remember, because your blueprint, your astrological chart, is the unique snowflake, star energy that you came into this lifetime with. So let's just go over the planets and what they represent in your chart. So the sun is your motivation and how you evolve by being magnetic. It's external and it's the conscious mind. Okay, so remember what I said. Everything revolves around the sun. So if you don't know who you are, you don't know what you want, you can't attract anything into your reality because you are chasing. And what is the sun? The sun is hot, it burns. So that's what people feel when you are chasing, right? Because you're forcing, and because you're forcing, people are just like turned off by it because that is the sun's energy. But when you are in the I am, in the sun energy, that's when you become magnetic because you know your value, you know your worth. It's not coming from ego, okay? So then we have the moon, and the moon is your emotional self. It is your intuition and your inner guidance. It is internal and it is your subconscious mind. So you have your conscious mind of thinking of what you need to do externally, and then you have your subconscious mind that is this program that's on repeat that is creating your reality. So you've got to know what your subconscious mind is programmed to think so that you can change it. The subconscious has been hijacked through the patriarchal system of hierarchy and this consumerism of, keeping up with the Joneses. So then we have Mercury, and Mercury is how you communicate, what you speak into existence, the messenger, how you learn, write, speak, and communicate with your higher self, goddess, and universe energy. Because we are such powerful beings, we do speak things into existence. We have to be aware of our critical mind and what we are saying to ourselves. And Mercury is the messenger. So be aware of how you are communicating with you first, as well as how you communicate about yourself to others. Then we have Venus, and Venus is how you relate with the material world and one-to-one, and your relationship with your aesthetic, because it is about beauty, and it's also about love. So when you know your aesthetic your beauty. You're comfortable in your own skin. You're not self-indulgent. You're not chasing love. You become more magnetic. Mars is how you assert yourself, where you feel motivated to react, your aggression, but how you assert yourself as the player, your avatar. So you've got to look and see where you have Mars in your chart, because that's going to tell you where you are being too aggressive and reactive in your life. Now you have Jupiter, and Jupiter is how you feel expansive. The connection with your higher self, your goddess, that inspires your philosophy on the wonderment of it all, the explorative version of your avatar, how you feel abundant. And the reason why I'm telling you this about your planets, so you can see where they are in your chart to help you understand what the planet is when it comes to the what. Saturn is your style of discipline, how you organize your systems to achieve the desired outcome, your success that is created for your signature avatar, the responsible decision you make for your unique evolution. Neptune is your compassion, imagination, intuition, and dreamlike state. It shows you where you can fall prey to avoidance, illusion, addiction, and what, where, or who can manipulate you. Uranus is how you transform quickly to adopt to change. It can feel unexpected and challenging, but it is always to help you catapult in the right direction. No matter how disorienting it feels, it is the unconventional part of you that sometimes is misunderstood, but is what makes you unique, and claim back your sovereignty. This helps you become a player who doesn't fit in. You refuse to blend in to conformity. Now, Pluto is how you deconstruct the rules and become the player who transforms the darkness into light. You welcome the shadow parts of self to balance out stagnancy. You become comfortable with the inconveniences, curveballs, and discomfort to experience growth. So now that you understand what the planets are, I'm going to leave you there. I have more that I want to share, but this video is already getting too long. But look at your planets, look at your houses, look at your placements, write out the description of your avatar. That's the first step that we're going to do in this 30-day. The next step, I'm going to show you how you're going to receive the mile markers and be able to measure your progress. And I will see you next time. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give me a thumbs up.